Hello, here we are again, and of course you're probably wondering why are we in chapter 9, Kapitel 9. Well, it's because we're covering the second grammar point of chapter 10, which is relative clauses and relative pronouns, but it's a review of them. So if you're not familiar with relative clauses and relative pronouns, if you forgot about them, if you didn't take chapter 3, level 3 German 2311 with me and just didn't go over them, you can go back to this PowerPoint here, go back to the chapter 9 PowerPoint about them, and you can also watch the video lecture just like this one here, but the one that is for the level 3 classes, where I actually go into details. We're not going to repeat everything this time around because we did already learn about relative clauses and relative pronouns. So right now we are going to Kapitel 10 and our small quick review of them. Okay? Hier sind wir. Relativpronomen, ja. Relativsätze und Relativpronomen. So if you remember what we did in chapter 9, you should know that relative clauses they're also called adjective clauses because they kind of work like an adjective. They describe people and places and things, and they begin with a relative pronoun. The difficult part here is that in English you only have 3 relative pronouns and you basically just use one. You have that, who, and whom. So whom is sort of disappearing out of the English language. You only use it for your English courses probably. Nobody really says whom, right? The song is not whom do you love, even though that would be grammatically correct. But you only use that and who, and then most of the times really you just use that. Use that to talk about people also. The guy that is recording all of this for us is Ryan, okay? So you used to have 3 relative pronouns and you kind of narrowed it down to 1. In German, we have a bunch more, and it's not optional. You cannot just say, you know, let's just narrow it down to 1. Nope, you can't. You have a bunch of them and you have to use the correct one, okay? So, what do? You describe a person or an object. Here, for example, a person. Das ist der alte Mann. Sie hat mit dem Mann gearbeitet. Well, we can put these two together and say, das ist der alte Mann, mit dem sie gearbeitet haben. That's wrong. Why is it wrong? Let's see if you can find out what's wrong here. I know the book publishers are not going to like me for pointing it out, but Sie hat, the T ending here indicates that sie is she. But sie gearbeitet haben, the en ending here in haben indicates that sie is they. So they're both correct, but here we have she worked with the guy, and here we have they worked with the guy. Well, what's it going to be? Okay, if it's she, sie hat, mit dem Mann gearbeitet, then it would have to be mit dem sie gearbeitet hat. Or if it's plural, a bunch of people worked with this guy, then it would have to be sie haben mit dem Mann gearbeitet. Anyway, one more thing to point out here is that in English, it's very, very common to put the preposition at the end. This is the old man she worked with. So we have to point out 2 things actually. In English, sometimes you just leave out the relative pronoun. This is the old man she worked with. There's no need for who, whom, or that. It's omitted. In German, you never, ever omit the relative pronoun. So that's one difference. And B, like your English teachers always tell you not to put the preposition at the end of the clause, but you do. I mean, really, seriously, who speaks like this? Who says, the old man with whom she worked? Nobody says that. It's the old man she worked with, no? So except for when you're writing for an English teacher. In German, it's not an option. It's not, am I being formal, or it doesn't matter. It's always the preposition before the relative pronoun, always. So this here that you see in your PowerPoints is standard. There's no other way to say this. You cannot omit the pronoun. You cannot put mit at the end of that clause. That sounds very confusing. It's one of those mistakes that make it very confusing to understand what you're trying to say. Das ist der alte Mann, Sie gearbeitet haben mit. Very confusing to a German. What are you saying? And one thing that will help you is actually if you think in very formal English, in English that you would use for writing a paper for school, then if you translate that English, you're much closer to the German. Think in terms of this is the old man with whom she worked. Then you have pretty much this. Das ist der alte Mann, mit dem sie gearbeitet hat. Yeah? So if you think in very formal English, you're closer to German and almost can translate word for word, but otherwise you'll get into trouble. And it's actually a little easier to pick out the correct relative pronoun when you have a preposition, because you just look at the preposition. What kind of preposition is it? Mit. Mit is a dative preposition. Der alte Mann is masculine. Dative masculine. Dem. Yeah? Mit dem. So it's a little easier when you have a preposition because you can kind of just look at it. What kind of preposition is it? Is it accusative? Is it dative? And then pick, the right case. Otherwise, it's a little more complicated, and you can refer to our lecture that we had for Chapter 9 to go back to that. Okay, so let's take a look. Examples with prepositions. Das ist die Bank. Ich arbeite bei der Bank. Also das ist die Bank, bei der ich arbeite. So again, preposition is not at the end. The relative pronoun is not optional. And by is a dative preposition, which helps you figure out what relative pronoun you're going to use. Die Bank is feminine, dative feminine, der. No? Das ist die Bank, bei der ich arbeite. Yeah? And again, if you translate into informal, colloquial English, you say, oh, that's the bank I work for or I work at. Not translatable into German, not at all. But if you think in more formal English, that's the bank at which or for which I work, then you get closer to German. Das ist der Zug nach Stuttgart. Ich fahre mit dem Zug. Ja? Das ist der Zug, mit dem ich fahre. Ja? Oder das ist der Zug, mit dem ich nach Stuttgart fahre. Again, it's a little easier when you have a preposition. Mit is dative, so der Zug, mit dem. Yeah? Good. So let's go to the board now. So something that's going to help you pick out the right relative pronoun, obviously, is, I hope you remember your Risi, Nisi, Merman, or in this case, Mermanen. Risi, Nisi, Merman, and for relative pronouns, actually, Mermanen. What does this stand for? If you took level 3 with me, you've seen this a bunch of times, I think. But if you're new and you're starting with me in level 4, you might not know what this is about. Well, here we have, the first row here is for the nominative. The second row is accusative. And the third one is dative. The columns are for masculine, feminine, neutral, and plural. And this is actually how we studied this in Germany. If you look at any German textbook or German website, this is the right order: masculine, feminine, neutral, and plural. Your book, one of the few things I don't like about Treffpunkt Deutsch, don't tell the publishers, is that they do it the other way around, I think. They used to do it the other, they still do. It's masculine, neutral, and feminine. That's actually wrong, and there's a reason why in Germany we study it like this. For example, when you want to learn little bitty, things like the Risi, Nisi, Murminen, this is how it works. But in pretty much everything you'll read in German, this is going to be the order in which the genders are learned, okay? So I'm not taking you away from how the book does it for no reason. There's a reason. So yeah, then you can pick, that der Mann is masculine. You could pick as a relative pronoun der, den, oder dem. So you have to figure out, is it nominative, accusative, or dative? For feminine, you have die, or der. Neutral is das, or dem. And then plural, die, or denen. No? And you kind of have to figure out which one to pick depending on what role that relative pronoun plays inside that clause, okay? And again, if you're not familiar with this at all, go back to our old lecture for chapter 9, okay? Because we're not going to repeat everything today, but you can definitely go back and watch that. So, wir gehen jetzt zu unseren Büchern. Auf Seite 341 haben wir Weißt du das? Ja? Wir spielen mal Trivia, ja? Weißt du das? Und die erste Frage hier ist, wie heißt die Stadt? Also die Stadt ist feminin. Na? Wie heißt die Stadt, in das Oktoberfest stattfindet? Wie heißt die Stadt? Well, in is a two-way preposition, right? But when the Oktoberfest takes place, we're not going to that city, we're there, right? We're asking what's the city in which the Oktoberfest takes place. We're already there, we're not going there. And you remember with two-way prepositions, when you're not going or putting something somewhere, when you're already there, the thing is already there, you use the dative, no? So now we know die Stadt, Dativ, in der, ja? Wie heißt die Stadt, in der das Oktoberfest stattfindet? Und wie heißt sie? Wie heißt die Stadt, in der das Oktoberfest stattfindet? Ich glaube, das wissen alle, ja? Die Stadt heißt München, ja? Entschuldigung, sie heißt München auf Deutsch, ja? Munich ist München. Gut, und dann haben wir Nummer 2. Wie heißt der Ozean? Der Ozean ist maskulin, der, den oder dem. Ja? Wie heißt der Ozean, über dem man von Amerika nach Europa fliegt? Ja? Von Amerika nach Europa. Ja? Wie heißt der Ozean, über dem man von Amerika nach Europa fliegt? Wie heißt der Ozean? Ich fliege sehr oft darüber. Ich fliege zweimal im Jahr von Texas nach Europa. Der Ozean heißt der Atlantik, ja? Der Atlantische Ozean. Gut. Und wie heißt das deutschsprachige Land? Das Land, ja? So we're looking here. Our choices can only be either das or dem, ja? When you know you're referring to das Land, you know you only have these choices, no? Wie heißt das deutschsprachige Land? Well, again, in is a two-way preposition, but we're there, we're not going there when we're speaking a language. So in dem, ja? Wie heißt das deutschsprachige Land, in dem auch Italienisch eine offizielle Sprache ist? Das ist interessant. Ich spreche Italienisch, das ist meine Muttersprache, ja? Ich bin Italienerin, meine Eltern sind Italiener, ich spreche Italienisch, das ist meine Muttersprache. Und Deutsch ist meine zweite Sprache und Englisch ist meine dritte Sprache, ja? So, wie heißt das deutschsprachige Land, in dem auch Italienisch eine offizielle Sprache ist und auch Französisch? Wie heißt das Land? Nicht Deutschland, nein. Nicht Österreich, nein. Nicht Liechtenstein. Die Schweiz, ja? Das ist die Schweiz. Gut. Und Nummer 4, wie heißt das Land? Aus. What kind of preposition is aus? Think about it. Aus is a dative preposition. So again, wie heißt das Land, aus dem der Euro-Banknoten-Designer kommt? Wie heißt das Land, aus dem er kommt? Ich glaube, er kommt aus Liechtenstein. Ich bin mir nicht ganz sicher. Woher kommt der Mann, der die Euro-Banknoten entworfen hat? Aus Liechtenstein. Ich glaube, es steht irgendwo im Buch, ja. Robert Kalina, Seite 316. Er kommt aus Österreich. Okay. I was wrong. Er kommt aus Österreich, ja. Er ist Österreicher. Okay, und dann haben wir Nummer 5. Wie heißt die Stadt? Die Stadt. So again, we're looking here. We have die or der as possibilities. Wie heißt die Stadt, in der, because we're in the city, so dative, in der man beim KaDeWe einkaufen kann. KaDeWe, Kaufhaus des Westens. Wie heißt die Stadt, in der man im KaDeWe einkaufen kann? Berlin, ja? Berlin heißt, die Stadt heißt Berlin. Und wie heißt der Fluss? Der Fluss, ja? An dem, okay, an is actually a two-way preposition again, but the city is there. It's not moving there. So again, we're using the dative. So wie heißt der Fluss, an dem Wien liegt? Wien. Was ist Wien? Zuerst einmal, Wien ist Vienna. Ja? Wien ist die Hauptstadt von Österreich. Und wie heißt der Fluss, an dem Wien liegt? Die Donau, ja? Die Donau, die blaue Donau. Was ist die Donau? Die blaue Donau, the blue Danube, ja? Die blaue Donau, die Donau. Und wie heißt die Stadt? Die Stadt, in der Walter Gropius das Bauhaus gründete. Wie heißt die Stadt? Bauhaus. Bauhaus war in Kapitel 8, glaube ich. Wie heißt die Stadt? Die Stadt heißt, steht auf Seite 284. Er gründet Weimar. I should have known this one. I'm bad at trivia. Okay, that's because I'm not concentrating on it right now. Wie heißt die Stadt? Weimar, ja? Okay, das ist auch die Stadt, in der Goethe wohnte, lebte, arbeitete, ja? Okay. Und wie heißt die Burg? Schloss, Burg, ja, die Burg. Auf der Martin Luther inkognito lebte. Wie heißt die Burg? I was already thinking of the answer, Wartburg, so I made a little mix there, die Burg. Wie heißt die Burg? Ja, und wir haben darüber gelesen, ja, auf Seite 331, ja. Die Burg heißt Wartburg, ja. Okay, gut. So, I hope this helps a little bit, but remember you can also watch the longer version of this lecture about relative pronouns and relative clauses in chapter 9. We're not redoing everything again now because most of you should be familiar with these already. So, if you're not, go back to that, okay? Tschüss, bis zum nächsten Mal.